What day is it? We're on YouTube on that, starting Taco Tuesday broadcasting day on that. While Jesse gets us up on Facebook Live and IE Newswire, and we'll kick this puppy off. You're not going to believe. Try signing a ticket. Try not signing a ticket and find out what happens. But you'll see what the elites are. We haven't had him on in a while. Attorney Mark Meuser is going to be on to update us on all the lawsuit filings and everything they're doing against that goofball governor. We have Gavin Newsom, who has us all under serious house arrest going on across the board every day, and it's getting maddening each and more every day. Trump had a press conference today. We'll check that out. Couple interesting tidbits that came on from that. But as everything else, it's always a fun day. Fun day in paradise. Starting in 5. I guess we should plug in the music. I was wondering where the music was, and I didn't have my earplugs in on the whole enchilada here going on for today on that. So it's always something fun. You do this stuff all the time, but it's the simple things. Sometimes you just don't even forget to punch this stuff in. And I'm looking at the thing, I'm seeing it's rolling, but I'm not seeing anything. It's going to be a fun Taco Tuesday coming up here on the good old show, as we usually maneuver around on that. A lot of stuff. We'll have a constitutional law attorney, former Secretary of State candidate in good old California of that. And Mark Meuser on a little bit later on. He'll update us on all the lawsuits going on where he's suing GovGav and for all the stupid stuff they've been subjecting us to each and every day. But there's some other things. The story that happened up in NorCal, going back and forth and doing that. I mean, I'm probably as anti-mask as anybody, but there's no reason to go on or give the employees that are working in the store a hassle about it. I mean, there's for any such reason of that, it's not their fault. They got a job to do. They're not pushing the policy. If you don't like what the store is doing, or you don't, or you disagree with it or whatever, don't go in there, or find some, do something else. Don't hassle the employees. So this is what's going on a video. This is on CBS 13 up in NorCal. You ain't gonna believe what happened on this one.
Verbal and physical fights, even coughing fits, but this one might top them all. Police say a woman refused to leave a local store, and you won't believe what happened next. A regular day at work turned into quite a show at the Verizon store off Galleria Boulevard in Roseville.
She's refusing to leave, not wearing masks. They've asked several times, and she's refusing.
A dispatch operator tells an officer a group of 3 people aren't wearing masks and refusing to leave the Verizon store. But it's what happened next that's jaw-dropping.
They're calling back again and advise that female now pulled her pants down and is urinating inside the business.
Are you kidding me? That's terrible.
Sounds kind of ridiculous. I mean, there's bathrooms all over the place, too.
Absolutely not. That's totally inappropriate. We're not animals.
Because I've seen other people who fought about the mask and did other things, actually get into physical altercations. But that's like a whole new story. That's just like who rose you up when you're young.
Gosh, are you kidding? That's like an animal. That's what my dog would do if I brought him out.
Police got to the scene and confirmed the incident, telling me they eventually arrested the woman after finding several stolen items from a nearby Dick's Sporting Goods.
But urinating on the floor, that's not something down there. It's something up here that's wrong.
Probably not too much to say other than the fact that it's probably not the right way to have a reaction to it. So simply wear the mask or just leave, I guess.
I'm very disappointed that we as society choose to have disunity and let this coronavirus divide us.
Now, I did talk with a Verizon spokesperson over the phone. They are requiring all their customers to wear masks in their stores. The spokesperson says this incident, though, wasn't just about their mask policy, but she wouldn't comment further about exactly what happened.
There you go. That was the what was going on. I mean, as I said, you don't want to, don't take it out on the people. I mean, but I do understand they're making us so plumb crazy on this stuff of, lockdowns, this, masks work, masks don't work. Even Trump came out to say he was kind of softening up on the mask thing, that, and I guess he had made a statement, it's patriotic to wear a mask or something now. So, again, we can get into the high fours or wherefores or whatever it takes of the debate on that. But if these masks work, then why is it continuing to spread or not spread or anything else? Here's the deal on Trump, and here's the key stat on the deal. Daily COVID cases and death. Look at back there. Look at it. The red line is the daily 7-day rolling average of deaths. The blue line is for new cases coming on, and we'll have some more information on that in a sec. But look at that. Just about the end of April was the peak of deaths. At about 2,800. They're just before April on that. Now they're down in less than that. They're 600-700. We've been plateauing. We have been on for over a month and a half. We have been well below 3 digits on the death rate for that. That is what you call a trend. And it's declining and flattening out. It took a little, just slight rise in the past couple of weeks, but that's nothing to be alarmed about or getting all fried about everything or having these knee-jerk reactions of that, closing down schools and everything else. So, you go back for the stuff of what's going on, and there's no need at all for locking down schools. Mike Pence was in South Carolina today, and he had the superintendent of one of the districts down there, Mr. McMaster, and he said, we're doing irreparable harm to our kids keeping them out of school. And he had one key stat, which I didn't know of, but he said, if you have 2 years of two bad teachers, is what, essence of that in a row, your odds of graduating are almost nothing. So we're going to be at least 6 to 9 months with no kids in school. What kind of harm are we doing to our children and their education and their future, their ability to get a job, raise a family, do what they want, becoming a responsible adult? Over all that stuff, I was a little bit, it was a very more subdued Trump. And he didn't say that. I didn't catch. I might have missed it, but he didn't really say anything about opening the schools. Where Pence was down in, again, Vice President Pence was down in South Carolina pushing that narrative, along with the Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos. But again, that chart, there's no reason to be all this alarm stuff that's going on all across the board, because there's no statistical evidence or any of the charts or that. It's not exploding. It's not getting worse. There's a couple areas of hot spots where this thing's breaking out. No big deal. We have the measures in place to handle it. So why all the just like things are getting worse? They're not getting worse. The only reason, not of anything coronavirus is doing. What's making it worse is our dingbat politicians that we have are making it worse. Here's a story, and this is the other follow-up I wanted to do on that. This is on ABC7 coming up on that. But we have the title of it, Antibody Tests Show Coronavirus Rates 10 Times Higher, CDC Study Finds. Reported coronavirus cases vastly underestimate the true number of infections, U.S. government data published Tuesday suggests, echoing results from a smaller study last month. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention study says true COVID-19 rates were more than 10 times higher than reported cases in most U.S. regions from late March to early May, based on COVID-19 antibody tests performed on routine blood samples in 16,000 people in 10 U.S. regions. The study likely detected infections in people who may have had no symptoms or only mild illness and who never got coronavirus tests. Infection rates were 6 times higher than reported in cases in Connecticut to 24 times higher in Missouri. Still, most people in the 10 regions had not been infected. The study was published online in a JAMA Internal Medicine. So who knows how long it is? They're not doing much antibody testing. They're testing for COVID-19. And coming up, well, yeah, you've seen the chart from Trump. Here it is. You go the daily deaths of what's going on, and then you see the cases and positive tests going way up, but the death rate's down. They're testing like crazy, but for the vast majority of the people, not many of them are sick. So there's no real reason to be running all this panic or concern, or that we should be all returning to the way this was before March, before we started acting stupid, and we should stop being stuck on stupid and just put a little common sense to this stuff. There is no panic. There is no global Armageddon coming over this. It would be like having a rather bad flu season in that, and who even knows if the death rate's anywhere close to that with the reporting, the incentive to report a coronavirus death on that. You have every incentive, like 40 grand, to write down, COVID-19 on the death certificate, USG sends you 40 grand. Yeah, coronavirus case, you get 15,000, 15,000. It's absolutely incredulous. But another thing that crossed on the wire here, Mad Maxine Waters. She's been in Congress, it seems like, forever, from South Central LA. She's a nut job across the board. And she's been with Rodney King, no justice, no peace, jumping on the Black Lives Matter, systemic racism. Everybody's out, not everybody, but the white man is evil, and yada, yada, yada. That's right, Maxine Waters. So cops in L.A. were stopping somebody or doing an investigation for a robbery or some darn thing, and they're out there talking to, I think, a black guy. And she stops and starts raising some cane. But what happens after that is even more fantasizing what's going on. So here's Pat Harvey with CBS 2 on a report with Maxine Waters.
Apparently keeping a close eye on LAPD amid heightened tension between police and people of color.
Did you pull it over?
I stopped the brother, so I stopped to see what they were doing.
Oh, okay.
Representative Maxine Waters pulled her SUV in front of a traffic stop last Friday when an officer pulled over a black driver during a burglary investigation. She said the officer threatened to give her a ticket for blocking traffic, but the chair of the House Financial Services Committee received only a warning after she refused to sign the citation. The black driver was also let go with a warning.
There you go. Now you try and impede an investigation from the cops and see where that gets you. Second, if the cops issue you a ticket, see what happens to you if you refuse to sign the ticket. that usually lists you a free ride to the Gray Bar Motel because they will show the criminal justice system will show you how that works. So, but Maxine Waters, we're laying off with kid gloves because we don't want the publicity or whatever the reason. No, that cop should have gave her the ticket. If she refused to sign the ticket, should have put the silver bracelets on her, put her on the arrest record and said, this is it. First of the deal, well, why did you stop that? Legitimate, they're doing investigation. They do this 100 times a day. There's no reason to be questioning why the cops are doing that. They weren't abusing nobody. Nobody was getting hit. They were just doing their job, and she's making a deal out of it. Here we go. A little bit different take on what's going on, but Steph's going to join us for a little segment here on a Taco Tuesday, so enjoy. On this Tuesday, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Ooh. We're going to talk about, this is a couple things. This is some of my, for instance, Mason Weaver has his book out, 7 Principles of Success. And it's absolutely fabulous read book.
It really is.
It's very,
it's
you
short,
probably
too.
read it, less than an hour.
Yeah.
It's not a novel. It's about 70 pages. It's got a lot of information, but it's very succinct and it's very easy to read.
I agree.
And you put those into perspective. So I've had 3 and I added a couple little sentences to it or a couple more things to it. But this is 3 that I came up with a long time ago on this. And we're going to run through them because I think we really need, with all the happenings that are going on and everything, sometimes you just got to step back, put things in perspective, take a deep breath, and just breathe a little bit and kind of soak everything in and then figure out how, how we're going to get out of this or how we're going to deal with, maybe not get out of this, how we're going to deal with this situation. One of the things I say a lot of the times, there are no problems, only solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you approach things like that, if you think everything is a problem, and it's very easy to get locked in that in today's because of all the things that are going on and all the things we've been talking about and continue to talk about on that. But then you kind of get in that whole cycle,
it's like
and it's hard to get out.
Right.
I mean, it's
like a negative tornado.
I mean, you can kind of see how, the alcoholic or the smoker, they get into that and then they can't quit, or, the drug addict or whatever. They get into that, they start doing it more and more and more, and then their whole world becomes that, and then they, it's, and the more they do it, the more it becomes more difficult to get out of that. So we're going to talk about a few things on this, and pull it up on the screen. I'm going to start with the 3. I wish I had more time to do them simple, but I have all 3. But number 1, be different. Do things other people won't do. So that's part of my thing. Is
yeah, it is.
Is be different.
That is Roy.
And I learned this, at a very young age because I don't even remember where I ran across it, but it was an old Chinese philosopher. And he said, most people, it was in the high 90s. Most people do the same routine. They do the same things every day, no matter what. It doesn't matter that we have a technological society. He was going back to the Neanderthal man days. When you were, in a cave, you went out and hunted, came back home, cooked the food, go back out and hunt again to do that. And you did the same thing practically every day. Your life was like. But even as and this was like in the 70s, even then. They said even though you got more stuff to play with or do more things, people go, they get up in the morning, they go to work, or you get up in the morning, you go to school, or whatever you're doing, and you do the same thing. You eat the same foods. You go the same, when
same
you
routine.
Yes, you go to the restaurant.
Put your left leg in first.
Yes, when you go to the restaurant, you order the same stuff every time.
I know, I'm guilty of that.
Yes, and that's what he said. He said that was his philosophy. Do something different. Change it up.
Right.
If you go to the restaurant, order something different. Do something different on that. Don't take this, if you're going to work or going to school or taking the kids to school, take a different route. Don't drive the same street, even if it may be only 2 blocks away.
Right.
Take a different route, run around the corner, going to work, don't drive the same way every time. Anything. Just do.
Plus, you never know who you're going to run into by going a different route.
Yes.
I dig it.
And again, yeah, you might see you go the same route, same day, pass the same stuff. It's just like it becomes a blur.
Right.
You go to a different route. Oh, well, I didn't notice that house. Man, they really got a nice yard out there. Or,
right.
Man, I didn't know. Heck, I didn't know there was a park 3 blocks away from us. Never seen it before. Because you just maybe never went down that street.
Right.
Or anything. So that, again, when you open up your mind to that and do things different, your whole philosophy or your way you see things, you won't look at things the same. You won't look in that tunnel vision. You'll start to see your perspective broaden out. Here's number 2.
Stop worrying about what other people think. I wanted to read it because that is like, I'm horrible with that.
Yes.
Don't look at me like that.
No.
Don't look at me like that.
No, because, again, it's the same thing. Most people, again, what's people's number 1 fear?
Fear?
No, public speaking.
Oh, yeah.
Because they get keyed up. They're worried they're going to say something stupid, that it's not going to sound, I don't know.
I think people's number 1 fear is being wrong.
Well, yeah, or it's the same thing, but yeah,
silly.
They don't want it publicly, yes. It probably is a subset of that, but that's why. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want people to laugh at them or think they were stupid or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And again, once you do that, I bet you now that you've been doing this for a while, you're not as keyed up even, or doing it or whatever. You're a lot more comfortable.
Definitely. A little bit.
With doing it.
There's always new challenges, which I think is great for like self-growth and everything, but I'm definitely more comfortable because now I got to the point, though, I think a lot of it comes with age where you just don't really care if you look dumb. I can laugh at myself now. So I know someone's going to go out there and say something negative, but whatever.
It is true. And one of the things that, and I wish they would teach this more, and I think kids should learn this. I've said that, especially at school board meetings. I think they should be taught communication skills real early and be comfortable with it. All it takes is being comfortable with it. Because one thing that cracks me up is you go to school board meetings and teachers are getting awards. You would think, just as normal, teachers, they're in front of kids, they're talking all day. You put them in front of a camera up there and they say nothing.
Or your boss. Well, I mean, their boss is up there too.
But what difference does that make?
It's intimidating. But that's where the whole confidence and everything needs to come in.
Yes, the confidence and stop worrying about it.
Right.
Most part, your boss or whomever is going to think, in most cases, if they're a real boss, they're going to think more of you or trust you more if you're giving them the honest opinion and you're not sugarcoating it and you're telling them it the way they are.
Right.
Oh, the only boss that doesn't like that is a boss that ain't worth a blank.
Right.
The boss because nobody knows everything of that.
You don't know everything?
Pull up number 3.
Outthink, out-hustle, and outwork everyone else.
There you go. It's just that simple. You got to put it into action. I've said it many times. You can have all the great ideas in the world. 97.7% of the time they're not going anywhere if you can't communicate them or you can't go out there and make it happen. You do that. Outwork, out-hustle, outthink them. Like I said at the beginning, there are no problems, only solutions.
Right.
If you come into anything, I don't care what you want to do. Run a radio show. Be top of your class. Run a marathon. Be a world champion speedway rider. I don't care what it is. If you want to succeed, it's going to be, who's going to determine that? Go look in the mirror. It's nobody else is going to give you something, or nobody else is going to sit out there and just hand you something on a silver platter.
Really?
It's you, yes. It's you that's going to make it happen. And if you get out there and outthink, out-hustle, outwork everyone on that, your odds of success go go up exponentially.
Exponentially.
And that's what makes it happen. I've seen it in countless. You see it when you're in school, the student that achieves whatever. They're the ones that are out there getting after it. You see it in businesses, the ones that succeed are the ones that are out thinking, out hustling, out working everything. Sports. I mean, I don't care if you're swimming, football, racing, or whatever. The ones that are the success are at the top are out there out thinking, out hustling, out working everyone. When you're running a race team or you're in that, I can tell you that the hours and the preparation, the race is won in the shop, and your preparation and outworking in that. The results are when you come out and you do, yes, and that's when it's showtime. As Roger Penske, one of the most successful, not only businessmen, auto racing guys, just bought the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, has a saying, I don't know if he invented it, but he said, luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And that's what he was talking about. He's out there working, out hustling. That's what he stresses to his race teams, business and everything else of what you're doing on that. And that's what determines your success, not somebody always... the odds of somebody handing it to you on the silver platter, go down and buy $2 and buy a lottery ticket. That's about the odds you have. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's like 10 billion to 1. That somebody's just going to plunk you out of the sky or something's going to do that. that rarely ever happens. So put that out of your head.
Well, there goes that plan.
It's always doing that. But no, and again, like I say, I think kids should be taught this at an early age.
No, I agree with you. I do.
And that's what makes that's what's going to determine your success of anything. I can tell you, any success that I've achieved or not achieved on that has been on me. It's either you went out there and did it. Nobody's just out there just throwing things up in the air. And even if you do, if somebody gives you something, you don't appreciate it. Look at how many trust fund babies or inherited millions of dollars and they blow it. Or lottery winners. What they say, like 98.7% of them wind up broke in 5 years.
I would never want to win the lottery.
Because they just went out there and blew the money, yada yada yada.
And then your family comes after you.
Yes,
and
everybody was
everybody loves you.
Yeah, until the money runs out, and then who are you? Of that. So roll up the last 3, and I want to get to these. These are the ones that I come up,
These are Royisms.
Yes, Royisms 101. Always dare greatly. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Don't psych yourself out of what's going on. Cherish victory humbly. Nobody likes a bragging winner of that. But which kind of bothers me. The great David Pearson, who had one of the greatest win percentages in NASCAR history, said this that and what kind of upsets me about the donuts and all the shows at racing and stuff. But he said and before all this, and he was like in the 70s, and he just drove into Victory Lane, did the interview, and somebody asked, well, why do you do that? He said, you just act like you know what you're doing. This is like an everyday thing. That's what I expected. I didn't expect not to win, but I did. I would have been the only reason I would be disappointed is if I didn't win. But I did not. That's what the job I was to do. My job was to get in the race car, drive it, and be the first guy to see the checkered flag. And I did my job. Here it is. Let's go on to the next race. Last one is never fear defeat. Again, you will learn. I've said this many times. You will learn more by what you defeated, what you didn't succeed at, and that will make you come back and outwork, out-hustle, and outperform anybody else, because that should be your motivation to come back. I've said this many times. The only reason if I know or do anything is because, like I said, I probably failed 100 times to every time most people have. And I can recognize it to that, but I didn't let it stop me. Right. And it's really just as simple as that.
I like it. I think people need to hear stuff like that right now. I think that everything that you're talking about, I mean, I love the stuff we cover, and we have great guests on, like Dr. Kelly Victory, like yesterday. But things like this, I think, are great. I think people do need to hear and get that little boost. I mean, it's okay if you fail and lose every once in a while. Just got to keep trying.
You do, and you're going to. I mean, most of that. Look at Ted Williams, the best baseball hitter, only hit 400. That means 6 out of 10 times he did. The aforementioned David Pearson only won 15% of his races. The great Dale Earnhardt only won 10%. And you go to that. Of that, you lose more. And like I've said, you ask A.J. Foyt, 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500, what's his greatest memory? He won't tell you about that. He'll tell you about the ones he lost.
Right.
And that's what sticks in your head because you don't repeat the mistakes that you made that made you lose. And that's what makes you a winner.
Ooh, powerful words by Roy. I love it. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I can't even close with anything else other than that. You want to close with anything else?
I guess the definitive words on the subject have been spoken.
1 minute.
I mean, they were great. I love it. It's okay to fail. Always keep trying. Right?
There you go. That was a little segment going on there that we had on flexing it up a little bit on the deal on that, but I thought I'd give you a little subject on that. And with all the trying times that are going on,
30 seconds.
Sometimes we need a little bit of lightening up or a little new perspective on how to get things done because we don't want it to wear you down where you're pissing in the Verizon store like the lady was up in NorCal.
Oh, jeez. Okay, here we go.
AM.com and download your free phone app today.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the...
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, KMAT 1490. As we peruse through all the stuff that's going on across the board, we covered a lot of things. Maxine Waters, if you didn't go back in IE Newswire on Facebook or YouTube, Maxine Waters, the proverbial 87-year-old, whatever she is, has been in Congress for years down representing South Central L.A., police officer stopping someone with a little bit darker shade of brown in their skin tone on a robbery investigation. She gets out like, "What are you doing? This and that." Da, 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 da. So the cop issues her a ticket for whatever, disturbing and impeding a cop investigation or whatever she was doing. She refused to sign the ticket, and they let her. And the cop didn't do anything. They let him off with a warning. Let her off with a warning. Cop should have put the silver bracelets on her, took her downtown, booked her on the whole deal. Because that woman is absolutely nuts. We covered the lady, and I'm as big a mask hater as there is. Don't like him, think it's useless and whatever. We can debate that. But the lady that was up at the Verizon store up in NorCal that got so upset about it and dropped her trowel and urinated in the middle of the floor of the store. Now, no matter how you feel about this stuff, don't take it out on the employees or the store or whatever for that. There's a proper venue for protesting this stuff and making your demands heard. But the guys working at at whatever store you're at, they're just following orders on this stuff. So, be cool with that. A lot of other stuff. We had a great segment. Just talking about how to get through all this stuff and maybe even improve your life over the deal on that. But we're going to have a constitutional attorney and former Secretary of State of California candidate who was ran in the last election on that. But more importantly, he works with the Dillon Law Group, and he himself and many of the team up there have been filing a lot of lawsuits and standing up for us, the citizens who have been under this barrage, especially in California with Gavin Newsom, just taking every opportunity to screw us all into the ground. But to update us on what has, what will, and hopefully what will become of the future, constitutional attorney Mark Meuser, welcome to IE Newswire Daily with Roy.
Hey, guys, thank you for having me on once again.
Yes.
It's actually good to be on this time versus...
not being able to get you on the last time, but at least now we have all the technical problems fixed, and we're probably another week and a half down the road, and man, it just seems like the thing just keeps getting worse.
Well, you know what? We have a tyrant for a governor who has drunk with power, and he doesn't know how to give up his power and allow the people to self-govern themselves once again.
Exactly. I mean, it's disconcerting, not surprising, just more disconcerting of me of that is the courts. The courts seem to be, in most cases on this whole coronavirus thing, siding with the establishment, with the control artists, with the tyrants, the wardens, the house arrests. You can't do this, you can't do that, yada, yada, yada. In the broader aspect of this, what's going on?
Well, I'm going to give a counterpoint to that real quick. Most judges are well established in their careers. Some might say they're a little gray behind the ears, maybe a little long in the tooth. And ultimately speaking, who are the people who are most vulnerable to this virus?
What's up?
All right, who are the people who are most vulnerable
Very
to this
old with pre-existing conditions that... 0 deaths of anybody under 18 in California, but tons of cases, and it works in the exact correlation. Tons of cases in younger people, hardly any deaths. Very few cases in older people, lots of deaths. I mean, we know a very small segment of our population has a problem, and that would be very easy to contain, control, and deal with. But we've blown this thing 9,000 times out of proportion.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you there. The thing is that I like to tell everybody, let's go back and see what Gavin did on Friday. On Friday, he shut down schools. Now, did you realize that California is the only state in the union that is shutting down schools at a state level? Every other state that has shut down schools, they are making that decision at the school board level. They are allowing the individual elected school board members make the decision. The people who are directly accountable to the parents over the education of the kids. That is what's going on across the rest of the nation. What is so interesting is, we got countries like France, which has produced a report that said, you know what? Kids aren't spreading this. Countries like Germany producing reports that say, you know what? Kids aren't spreading this. We have the European Union telling all their ministers of education that after 22 countries opened up schools, there was no spike.
Thank you.
COVID-19. We have Australia that has studied this issue. We have had South Korea, China, Thailand, Taiwan. All have studied this issue. And we got a plethora of scientific articles basically saying it is safe for kids to go back to school. But despite all this overwhelming science, the governor, the guy who is saying that he is following the evidence, following the science, is doing the exact opposite. Now remember, California is 12% of the nation's population, yet we only have 5% of the nation's COVID-19 deaths. So not only is this not a problem in our school system, It's not even a problem in the nation. Yet, King Gavin, Tyrant Gavin, is saying, you know what? I'm not going to allow you to allow your local school board member to make a decision as to what is best for you. Now, here is just an example of how crazy this is. One of the school districts ran a survey of their parents and said, if we have to do virtual learning, how many of you are going to have to leave your kids home alone? And this is not for high schoolers. This is for pre-kindergarten through like second and third grade. 7% of the parents in that school district said that if you don't open up schools, my kindergartner is going to be home alone.
Wow.
Okay. Gavin is destroying families. He is destroying businesses. He is destroying kids. He does not care about people in California. And so that's why today the Dillon Law Group filed a lawsuit against Gavin Newsom. This is, by the way, is lawsuit number 16. Our firm has now filed 16 lawsuits against Gavin Newsom over COVID-19. And this one is on behalf of 9 different parents throughout the state of California who said enough is enough. This case was brought in federal district court in Los Angeles. It's part of the Central District. And in this lawsuit, we are basically saying this violates equal protection, this violates due process of law, and we are asking a judge to stop the madness. And so here's the deal for all your listeners. It is time to turn your turn your anger into action. It is time to be an activist. It's not time to be a keyboard warrior. It's not time to just sit in your car and listen to the two of us talk. We have to actually start acting. Because if we do not, Gavin is going to just continue to be a tyrant and destroy the lives of Californians. And that means there are only a couple things that we can do. One is we need to get involved in the recall of Gavin Newsom. There is a recall of Gavin Newsom going right now. They have to get 2 million signatures by November 17th. That means we can't wait until November 17th to go out there and get signatures. It means each and every one of us have to do it. So if you are a parent of a kid who is now going to be home this fall, I would encourage you to take your kid and teach him a little civics and go knock on all the doors of his classmates and ask the parents to sign the petition. And I bet you that if you spend a half hour to an hour, you're going to fill 2, 3, 4 different sheets. You know, it is time that we stop waiting for somebody else to do something, and we got to do something. Each and every one of us has to do our part. If 2,000 people went out there and I think 2,000 people got 1,000 signatures, we have our 2 million. But, it would take 200,000 people to do 10. Well, you have quite a few listeners listening here today. If each of them went to www.recallgavin2020.com, downloaded the petition, signed it, went and got, 9 other people to sign it, and then mailed it back to the county coordinator who turns it into the county elections department. If everybody just did that this week, you know what? This effort would be moving along very rapidly. And I can tell you one thing. Recalls get the politicians' attention when they see that there's momentum behind it. You know what? If they see a small number come out at the end of this month, guess what? I get to keep being a tyrant because people aren't upset at me enough. But if all of a sudden 500,000 people sign the petition, oh, this thing has wings. This thing's going. Well, maybe I shouldn't be shutting down their restaurants. Maybe I should open up the barber shops. Maybe I need to allow people to have choice in whether or not their kids go to school. You know what? Courts sometimes take years to come up with decisions. We're going to still pursue that. And that's why our great friends at the Center for American Liberty are funding these important litigations, because we got to stop this so that this never happens again in the future. But, you know, and by the way, for those who want to find out more about the Liberty Center, just go to www.libertycenter.org, libertycenter.org. But they can go there and find out about this lawsuit. There's a copy of the complaint on the website. But you know what? It's not enough to just donate $50 and help the cause. It's not enough to talk to your friends about it. We got to get off the couch. We got to print this thing up, and we got to today, tomorrow, this weekend. Each and every one of your listeners needs to make a commitment to go get 10 signatures and get it turned in. So that way the politicians in Sacramento realize that their actions have consequences.
You're exactly right on this. And you brought up a good point of that, of you know, how individual school districts cannot make a decision. Our school district in Moreno Valley is having a meeting tonight, and their hands are tied. Now, I would suggest to them to get a hold of the Dillon Law Group and sue Gavin Newsom, but this is a story for another day. But this is what you got to do. You got there. It's incredulous of that, because, as Mark said, we're lacking common sense or any other or scientific data or anything else. You can go all over the world. There is no danger to kids over this thing. There is no compelling reason the kids should not be going back to school on this. And I just want to point this out. Mike Pence our vice president, was in South Carolina today, and the superintendent of the district, McMaster, was saying that. And he said today, if you get 2 bad teachers in a row, your odds of graduating high school are almost nil. Well, we went through 3 months. They're talking 3 to 6 months more. They're almost talking a whole state of California almost missing a school year of this. What damage is this going to do, not only to you, the economy, and everything else, but your kids' future if you let this stuff lie, if you don't get out there and do something? I don't know how else to say it, but Mark can probably say it better than me.
Well, everybody has to do something. Not all of us can be like the person I talked to this weekend who got 1,000 signatures this weekend. Not all of us are going to be the super, activist who knows tons of people and can create a team. But while not all of us can do the massive 1,000 signature effort, every person here who is listening today who has a child probably has 10, 20 friends, and each of those friends has parents. You can go to your child's friends and say, aren't you upset with what Gavin is doing? Yeah, I'm upset. Want to sign the recall petition? Yeah, I'll sign the recall petition. You know, some of our plaintiffs in this case are diehard Gavin Newsom supporters who are no longer. They were huge Gavin fans. You know what? Shut down churches, that's okay. Shut down my barber and beautician, that's okay. Shut down my restaurant, that's okay. You jeopardize my kid's future, that's not okay. You know, there has been a threshold crossed last Friday by Gavin Newsom, and I am cautiously optimistic that Gavin Newsom basically signed the paperwork for his recall. He is. I'd like to see what happens, but I am cautiously optimistic that his term as governor is almost at an end. He ticked off his own base. We have people who are part of the teachers union calling us up and thanking us for filing this lawsuit against the governor. Gavin has gone too far, but he'll get away with it unless each and every one of your listeners does something. I'm not asking you to go get me 1,000 signatures, but if you would, we would thank you very much. I'm asking you to go get me 10 to 25. And if you get 10 to 25 and you liked it, then keep going. But just make a commitment to get 10 to 25 by this weekend.
At least how many signatures are on a page, do you know?
5 per page on the short form. I think the long form is 10.
Even if that. Just and it takes a lot. I understand people are apprehensive; they don't want to get into it. But even that, just make a deal by the weekend to get one page done and see how it goes. And then, like you say, take that from motivation from there.
Yeah, just give me one page. Give me 2 pages. Hey, if you're a go-getter, go get me 5 pages. You know what? We tell our kids get involved in these fundraisers. And we get them we want them to go get, skills at selling stuff, and we make them, what do we tell them? You have to go knock on 5 doors. Today you have to go knock on 5 doors. Well, the same thing that we tell our kids to do when they're doing their fundraisers, we now have to do with Gavin Newsom. We have to set aside time on our calendar and say, you know what? Today I'm going to go knock on 5 doors. Tomorrow I'm going to go knock on 5 doors. You know what? I'm going to call 5 of my friends today and ask them if they've signed the petition. If they haven't, I'm going to give them the website, www.recallgavin2020.com, and I'm going to ask them to download the petition and sign it themselves.
Yes. Because, again, if we don't take an aggressive approach to what's going on, you're just going to keep – you think it's bad right now? Wait till if you just let them run unrestrained in this – you're going to be thinking that today was the glory days of what's going, because I just get an unsinking feeling of the way things are going, that, man, and it's starting to snowball. And if we don't stop that snowball now, it's going to overwhelm us if we don't take action like you're talking about.
Yeah. Hey, if you're unemployed right now, if you're one of the 3 million Californians on unemployment, what's stopping you right now from going out and spending a half a day to go grab signatures? Yeah, I know you got to, apply for jobs and try to find a job, but I guarantee you're spending half of the day just searching the internet, having fun.
Yes, don't get me on don't be looking. Yeah, take 10% of the time you're looking at that 3x5 screen on your cell phone, and maybe turn it into a little more productive time of going that. As Mark said, if you're not as concerned about your future or anything else, think about your kids' future, because they're depending on you. And at this point, they can't do anything about it, but you can.
Yeah, they're not voters. They can't sign the recall petition, but you can.
Exactly, and that's where it starts. You got to get it on and get after it. Else they're going to, again, I see the steamrollers just picking up steam on this thing. And it's like Mark said, it would be nice, or I said, why is the courts? It would be nice if the courts would be putting some emergency stay orders in, but they're not. So we got to come up with something else. Like I said earlier, there are no problems, only solutions. So we just retool it, we come out with a different strategy, and we get after it again.
Yeah, I'm going to keep fighting in the courts. 16 lawsuits. I'm fighting in the courts. But you know what? Most of your listeners are not lawyers. As such, what can they do? People want to know what they can do. Print 1 sheet of paper and go get it filled. And when you're done with that, then go print a 2nd sheet of paper. Don't go print 1,000 sheets and say, I'm going to do that. Just do it 1 page at a time.
That's sage advice, because you think you're going to get 100 signatures, and you do that and you only get 20 or so, then you're kind of disappointed. But if you set your goals at the beginning, like I said, just get just make a commitment by the weekend to get 1 sheet of paper, 5 signatures of that. And then you're going to find out probably how easy it is, and then then build on that stepping stone and build your house bigger on that, is the way I would look at it.
Exactly.
And, it's something else. We're about ready to end the segment here, so I'll give you about a minute to wrap it up. Tell everybody where to get the recall petitions, where to support liberty.org. Go, Mark.
Hey, thank you once again for bringing me on. Once again, the recall petitions can be downloaded at www.recallgavin2020.com, www.recallgavin2020.com. You can support the Center for American Liberty at libertycenter.org, libertycenter.org. I am an attorney with the Dillon Law Group. That is www.dillonlaw.com, dillonlaw.com. More importantly, if you look me up on Facebook, that's Mark Meuser, Meuser. I do a lot of Facebook Live, a couple a week, where I talk about what is going on in the legal world regarding COVID-19. I also have a YouTube channel, again, the same name, Mark Meuser, Meuser. So there's plenty of places to get information, but more importantly, we need to turn our anger into action and become activists. Thank you very much for having me on today.
You got it, and a big 10-4 and amen to that, Mark. Now that we got the phone systems working again, hopefully we won't have as big a gap between the last time we had you on this time. Thanks again, Mark. We'll do it real soon.
Okay, talk to you later.
You got it. There's Mark Meuser, constitutional attorney, ran for Secretary of State of California in 2016. Unfortunately, he didn't win. He got into the runoff of the top two. But in that, and hopefully, and of this, I know a lot of you don't like the politics and you don't want to talk about it and and you're living your lives and but man, now have we got your attention? Now is the time, like Mark says, you can't be sitting on your derriere and hoping somebody else is going to do it. It's time, if you really do want a future, if you do want to turn this thing around, if you don't want the government dictating every aspect of your life or someone else, then you better get out there and take some action and take it fast. Because if you don't, again, you're going to be looking at this as the glory days, and that is not a very good thought of coming on of what we're doing. So, been a fun show today of doing all the stuff we covered back and forth on that. But there's nothing more important, and I want to leave you with a little positive note. Sometimes don't be looking so much at this 3x5 screen. Don't let that stuff get you down. Use this as motivation to go out there and do something and take some action. You know what? You will. Even though you might be a little apprehensive of it as first, or that when you look back on it, you're going to say, man, I'm really proud of myself that I went out there and actually did something to help not only myself, but my community and everything else of doing the right thing. So we're coming up at the end of the show. We'll be back tomorrow on a Wicked Wednesday with Stephanie, bringing you all the fun and frivolity that's going on in our world every day today. So with the just something to crack me up on that. We'll be back tomorrow again, like I said. So be back here in 23 hours. Until then, see ya.